Welcome to Nova House, where investments generate passive income while enriching lives. Now, why choose Nova House? Nova House properties are cash flowing with expedited money returns and 100% backed by secure property assets. Investors benefit from property appreciation and the new remote work visa, positioning them at the forefront of Costa Rica's booming remote work tourism. With a safe, politically stable environment and a high standard of living, Costa Rica stands out in Central America. Join the high-growth tourism market in one of the world's most popular destinations. Nova House, the key to a prosperous and fulfilling future in Costa Rica. Invest in your future, Nova House. www.novahouse.com. That's NOVAHAUS.com.
They actually have a plan for today's Nice Guys on Business podcast. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is the way it is actually in most creative industries, right? It's not just crafting, it's podcasting, it's being a YouTube creator, it's being an author. And I find being a musician that very often there's this line, it's the hobby line, right? And the making money line. And it's like, if you can figure out a way to do this fun stuff that you really, really want to do, then there's the hard stuff that isn't so fun, although you guys have solved some of the problems for some of that, right? Then it becomes a business. And suddenly it's something that's not only fulfilling, but you can actually do with your life and you can make it, a really substantial part of the way you financially live.
If a leisure suit could talk, it would sound just like the Nice Guys on Business.
Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community. What do dishwashers, watches, and podcasts all have in common? Well, they've all been emblazoned with the Carina Gardner brand. And what better guest to talk today about building a community, growing influence, and making money, all while making a difference. Carina, I'm excited to chat with you today. Welcome to the Nice Guys, Nice Gals. Welcome to the show.
Hey, well, I'll be a guy, nice gal. I like it.
In chapter 1 of the book that I wrote, this is going back so many years ago. I don't even know. Nice Guy community. If you're just new to listening to this show within the last couple of months or last few years, even, I probably haven't even talked about Nice Guys Finish First, a book I wrote back in 2015. But on chapter 1 of the book, there's a quote by Gary Shandling. It says, if you don't think nice guys finish first, you don't know where the finish line is. And so why don't we start there? That sounds like that would be
That is so good. That is so incredibly good. Yeah, I do think nice people in general, they finish in an amazing way because they know how to do business. They know how to be kind to the people. And guess what? You want to be part of that person's community. You want to be part of the nice people's community. We have the nicest community. And I will tell you what, we filter it because we do not want people who are not nice. And my people, they know where the finish line is.
All right. So talk about your community for a moment, because I think that those that are queued up in our listening audience might say, well, I want to be a part of a community that only has nice people in it. So what do you do? I mean, I know what you do, but maybe share in 40 words or less in 3 box tops what you do so that my community can in an easy way understand what exactly you do.
All right. So first of all, you have to know is I'm a designer, and I'm a very specific kind of designer. I have a PhD in design, but I work in the craft and quilting industry, which is just about as tiny as it gets, right?
Is that like Michael's? Like Michael's kind of?
Michael's, yeah. I specifically like Cricut and Silhouette machine.
Oh my gosh, I love Cricut machine. I had a Cricut machine for years. I love that machine. That was the best thing ever. That's like the creative side of me coming out. I'm like, I'd like to do crafting.
Yes, crafting is amazing. So guess what? Lots of money in that space. I was the creative director of a scrapbooking company. Just quilting. So quilting fabrics for Riley Blake, which I 100% cottons. Anyway, so I was a practitioner for now it's been 16 years, but for 13 years. And then 3 years ago, I got back to my academic roots because I was a PhD. I used to teach at the University of Minnesota design, and created a design program specifically for people who wanted to be designers, but wanted to make money being designers, which you think everybody's like, well, clearly you want to make money if you're a designer. I'm like, Maybe not, because lots of people don't make money, and it's because they just don't know how. So,
Well, isn't there a difference though between, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm going to step all over you this whole interview and I apologize, but I have so many questions as you talk. I'm like, well, isn't there a difference between crafting and being a designer? Because the person that's a crafter, I always think is somebody that's sitting at their dining room table and kind of like putting stuff together and doing buttons and doing the Cricut kind of stuff. And then there's designer who comes into your home and lays out the entire pattern and color concepts for the entire house. Now, is that the difference?
They're different. So it's a hobbyist versus like an actual skill set, right? And that's the only thing that's really standing in the way of a crafter becoming a designer, is they don't know how to make money doing it, and they don't know the technology to do it. But if they can just transfer, they're fine.
Podcasting. Think about that for our community members that are listening to this, that are even thinking about podcasting or designing. It's like you could treat your podcast like a hobby and get a hobby result, or you could treat your podcast like a business and get a business result. You can treat your design and your crafting experience as a hobby and have fun and enjoy it, which is great. Or you can do what Carina has done and create a multi-million-dollar environment with this. Did you ever think that you were going to make money from this?
Oh my! Well, I knew I'd make money. I didn't know how much money, and it blows my mind, because it means that there was a clear deficit in the market for this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing I find. People who make money, not accidentally, because I didn't do it accidentally, but I didn't know how it would grow. I didn't know that it could build the way it did. It's because there was a clear deficit in the market. And the moment I started using their language and using my own language to be like, there's no good reason that you're doing this for free. Like, think about podcasting. There's no good reason you should be doing this for free.
Well, except people might say, well, I just didn't want to create the pressure around having it be a business. And without, how do you do, like, okay, so this is a great line to talk about, because podcasting and crafting, it's kind of the same line, different end result, different tool, but it's like, how do you actually find the white space if you have a passion project podcast or a passion project crafting business, enough white space to make a living at it, let's say?
Well, okay, so here's the problem with podcasting and crafting, right? Even though you're having fun doing it, there's also parts you do not like, right?
Oh, sure, right.
Right? There's parts you don't like. People are always worried that the parts you don't like is going to be like the big parts, like making the money from it is going to make it so much worse. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's going to be fine. So in terms of the white space, if you enjoy doing even 50% of it, right, then you literally just have to carve out the time in your life. For our designers, we have lots who work full time, carving it out in the evening, carving it out on the weekends, because it can be a hobby that makes money. The hobby that makes money is called a business, and you can just do it and actually make money from it. And the crazy thing is, if you're good at it, you will be able to leave your 9-to-5 and do this full time. I don't see why not. And
if for no other reason other than just now having a very good write-off rather than a huge expense, why not create a business out of it? You know, I thought about, I was, again, just walking down the lines of podcasting versus crafting. You know, I hate editing. You know, I hate transcription. I hate doing the graphics. I love creating all of the content. I love having the conversations like this, but all of that other stuff I didn't want to do. And then we started to hire people. I'm like, well, shit, if we're doing this for ourselves, other people would want this also. And so let's try to develop a greater business. And then it's like, hey, then you can teach the teaching side. You can teach, hey, why can't I teach people how to make money, build their influence, and grow community doing this as well? And that's why I was so intrigued with your message. And not until we just had this conversation, even the first 5 minutes, did I discover, man, there are so many parallel lines between podcasting and crafting that it makes complete sense why I was so attracted. Not only the fact that you have a great message and you're a nice person, but there is so many parallel lines that could be drawn between the two.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is the way it is actually in most creative industries, right? It's not just crafting, it's podcasting, it's being a YouTube creator, it's being an author. And I find being a musician that very often there's this line, it's the hobby line, right? And the making money line. And it's like, if you can figure out a way to do this fun stuff that you really, really want to do, then there's the hard stuff that isn't so fun. Although you guys have solved some of the problems for some of that, right? then it becomes a business. And suddenly it's something that's not only fulfilling, but you can actually do with your life, and you can make it, a really substantial part of the way you financially live.
Take me back to the early part of your career when you were thinking, look, I have all this education and I have this knowledge and this wisdom about doing this. I just don't know how to turn it into a business, because there are so many people that are in the early stages of that. And they're like, well, I really like cooking. I like cooking a lot, and I spend a lot of time in the kitchen, but I have this full-time job, but I really would love to be a personal chef for someone or something like that. So how do you maneuver and work your brain into understanding where the space is that you can actually fulfill this need that is out there in the market?
All right. Do you want to hear my story, or do you want me to tell you the 3 things that you can do? Because everybody wants to know how to do it. And I'm like, there are 3 ways to do it. These are the 3 ways. Do you want me to go over that, or do you want me to tell you a little bit how we started?
I want to know your story, but I also want to know the 3 ways. I want it all. You know what? We have about 28 minutes that we can talk, or 18 minutes we can talk.
Let me see if I can do this fast. Okay. Yeah. So when I got started, I had finished design school. I was still teaching at the University of Minnesota. I had 2 very little kids, like newborn and a 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. And I decided I wanted to start a design business. So I was like, I've got to find another way to make money. I want to stay home with my kids. I don't mind being a professor part of the time, but
Yep.
So there was this magical thing back then, 16 years ago, called digital scrapbooking. It meant I didn't have to buy inventory, and it meant that I could just create designs and sell them digitally online. This is the first time this really was like a thing. Like, it was a thing in the scrapbooking industry. And so I did it. And I did it for 11 months, and I made no money. No money. It was like $300 over 11 months. And I have a PhD in design. So I'm like, either the design work's not good, or I have a different problem. I had a different problem. The different problem is I was sitting on my own website trying to sell my own stuff. And so at 11 months, I talked to someone. They were like, you should go to this one site. They're really big, and you should see if they would take your stuff. So I did. I made $300 the first month I was there. I made $1,000 3 months later. I did about $4,000 a month there during my time at that place. And what I figured out is I had a distribution problem, right? So most of us are pretty good at making the product.
Yep.
Most of us don't know how to distribute what the product is we have.
That's our gift. Our gift is making the product. Our gift is not in the marketing or the selling of the product. It's just the making of the product. Yeah.
So that is how I got started. And once I had that aha moment, my distribution got really good. And so the last 16 years, I have phenomenal distribution. I have how many platforms we got? 9 platforms or so. We've done lots of deals with people. Even my creative director at Cartabella was a platform deal. And I'll tell you why. They didn't hire me in-house. They hired my design agency. So every designer who worked for them actually worked for me, not them.
Wow.
And so it's all about terms. It's the way you build your structure. And most people aren't thinking about that. They're just trying to think, I just need to make money. I got to do no. It's the way you build it and the way you distribute it.
All right. So we're going to talk about the 3 things, but I also want to ask you, I want there to be some level of relatability to my audience that's out there, because they're thinking, oh, of course, Carina was able to figure that out. She's got a fucking PhD. That's what she is schooled and educated to do. I'm working at XYZ corporate, and I'm working in the kitchen at night. I'm not going back to school to get my PhD in cooking or chefery or whatever it is. How do they do it? Or did none of that get applied to? Go ahead.
Yeah. Here's the thing, you guys. A doctorate doesn't mean you're good at business. In fact, it means the opposite. You almost know too much. That's not going to be right. Business is about experience. It's about putting your stuff out there and just trying it. And actually, this relates to the 3 ways. So let's just talk about this, because I talk to women all the time about, and I'm sure there's lots of guys here. Mm-hmm. How do you take that hobby, that passion thing that you do, and then turn it into something that actually makes money? And I always use the example, everyone laughs at me. I use the example of jam, okay? Because that's so different from design. Like, if I'm really good at making jam and canning jam, and I have specialty recipes in jam, how do I make sure that is something I could make money from? And there are really 3 ways. The first is you sell the product, right? So you go to your mom and pop shop and you sell it through them. You distribute it online. You get a deal. We had deals with like Nordstrom with my other company. I had a physical products company. We do deals with them. You're a wholesaler. So it can be a few $100s to millions of dollars. So the first is just you make the product and you figure out the way to distribute the product, okay? The second thing is you educate. Okay. So you don't actually make the product. Instead, you teach everybody how to make your specialty jam. Right. So it's like, okay, this is how you do it. Of course, it's a higher priced item, right? Because now you're educating people to make that jam. If I'm only buying the jam and it's $10, then I'm going to come back and buy the jam over and over and over again. Right. So you're winning based on numbers, the numbers game. The second way, education has to be a higher price level because you only teach one time and then they walk away. Right. Okay. So then the third way is I always call it certification, basically turning people into experts in your field. So you become the jam queen and you certify people to be able to make jam and to sell their products with your expertise behind it. So these are very simple ways to do it. But I'm going to tell you the number one thing you have to do is think about the distribution at every level. Because if you can do one of those three things with your hobby and you can get the distribution right, you'll win. Period.
When did you know that you got it right? Was it a dollar figure? Was it a client landed? Was it a staffing thing? When did you know that this was the thing?
Well, the first time around, which was 16 years ago when I was just doing design, being a designer, not an educator. The first time was when I moved to that shop and I made $300 in 1 month instead of 11 months. I was like, there's something here. Like the money is not about the money, you guys. Like the money is about, does it indicate something bigger?
Yeah, the money's about the win. And if you can do it once, you can do it 10 times. If you can do it 10 times, you can do it 100 times. And why not 1,000 times? Now we just have a distribution problem. It's like, hey, how do I duplicate this and distribute this out?
And then the second time was 3 years ago when I started my design program. And the first day I launched it, 10 people signed up at a high price that I'd never, ever thrown out there before.
Yes.
And when I have very small audience, you guys, like people will be like, oh, you must have no. Like, I think back then I might have, if I was lucky, had 5,000 people on social media. Like, I do not have a big audience. I've done a lot of things, but I was so busy doing the things like being a creative director and running my businesses. I didn't have big social media followings. People think you need to have those. Guess what? You don't.
No,
you
it's
don't.
The niches are, the riches are in the niches, and the tighter you can get your offering, actually, the better it is. You want to, especially in podcasting, and I know you have a highly successful podcast, 400 plus episodes of your own out there in the world, and I know that it's successful because you talk specifically to. You could probably tell me exactly who your buyer is, your community member is, probably to their age, to their sex, and whether they're having sex or not. All the things you could probably tell me all those things, right?
It is insane. I keep hearing people say things like, well, my audience is 18 to 60. And I'm like, that is not an audience. That's everybody.
Right.
Our average age woman at ours, 50. We know. Like you're 50, you're somewhere between 45 and 55. You might be up to 65 because we have some women in retirement, but you're an outlier, right? We have a 19-year-old, she's an outlier, right? But most of our women average age 50. And you have to have been a crafter or creative, or you have a design degree. So like we very specifically know how to talk to those three niches.
All right. So take me through because I'm really curious now that you've said, okay, I've got this, the three things, and I've got this design business, and I know my community, and I'm sure you've thought about this, but I'm just going to throw it out there so my community can hear it also. And they can be the ones that will contact us and say, Carina, you've got to teach us how to do this. Well, you could teach that system in any environment. You could teach that system. You could teach me as a company how to launch, grow, and scale a podcasting business because it's just a different flavor. It's not your.
I could, but don't you think that the real win is in the details? Like, for example, podcasting really well. I know design really well. So like if you come to me and I tell you what the system is, which is great, what actually matters is for me to be like, now of the 9 platforms, I'm going to tell you, this is making the most money. This platform makes the most money. And this is how many you need to do on that platform, right? I don't know that about podcasting. I could put a system in place, but the details of what platforms maybe is getting you the most reach and what types of speakers you get on that are going to give you the most reach. You know that because you're in the details of that.
Yeah. I see that. I see that you could create, and you probably have already, create a mastermind. And I know you have because you have this other community that's out. You could create a mastermind within your environment because you know the granular details. But I wouldn't sell short, and I'm not trying to convince you to go into this other business, but I wouldn't sell short the idea that you fucking know how to put the entire system together. You can talk about the beginning stages, you could talk about the mid-level stages, and you can talk about the advanced stages of scaling a business beyond, I remember when I bootstrapped my business from $0. I remember getting to our first 100,000. I remember getting to my first million. You could go through all of that. That's valuable, I would think.
I think you know what it is. It is. And I give a lot of advice to creative entrepreneurs about like what they're doing and how I would steer things. I'm like, I will just tell you that didn't work for me and I would maybe go that way. And don't you think that is just experience, right?
Yes.
You own 5 businesses, you watch all the failures that happen in them. People hear you have a multi-million-dollar business and it happened in 3 years, which is magical and amazing. They don't hear about all the screwy things I did, the poor mistakes I made, and all the times I wish I hadn't done X, Y, and Z,
What happened? What changed 3 years ago to take you from a 6-figure business to a beyond 7-figure business?
I think it was the total change in wanting to make money versus wanting to make impact. And you hear this all the time, but you guys, it is 100% true. I literally went into this going, I'm still going to design. I love my design businesses. I hadn't really thought, I'm going to make $1 million. In fact, that was the farthest thing from my brain. What I thought was, so many people have been asking how to make money as a designer, and they're seeing all these things I know are false on social media. They're seeing all these things that people are doing, and none of those things actually make very much money, but nobody knows that because no one's talking about it. And I thought, you know what, if I can just get one person to do it the way I've done it and they start making money, that would be pretty darn cool. That would be kind of awesome. And so those first 10 people who showed up and said, hey, we would love to spend 6 months with you, Carina. And will you coach us and talk to us about, design and making sure we make better design? I was like, you know what? Let's just see what happens. And I will tell you, if you can make impact, the money follows very, very easily. And now all we think about in our company is impact. In fact, we have an online program right now, and I can't tell you the secret thing. We hope we're releasing it next week, but we have a secret thing happening it's going to take us another 3 years to do, but it's taken us 1.5 years to even get to. And it's because we're thinking about impact, not about the money right now.
It's the thing that I am challenged with, not of anything that you have done, but the thing I get challenged with the most is I got to get out of my own way. With everything that I have done or tried to accomplish in my life, I am the biggest bottleneck in my fucking business that is out there. And it's
why do you think that is though?
Well, because I don't know why I do this, but I see myself in the process of, it's like, okay, I remember I was in a mastermind. This is probably 6 or 7 years ago. I'm like, I was a fucking crybaby. And I was like, I can't get out of the $200,000 rut. I can't get out of the, and I'm like, I'm there forever.
It's a marker. 250.
Yeah, totally. I was there forever. I was there for probably 20 years of my life. And I just said, I've got to start hiring out things that are not in my zone of genius. And Strickland and I, my partner and we decided he's going to stay in systems and process, and I'm going to stay in sales and relationships. And if I ever get myself in a fucking spreadsheet again, I will kill myself. So I find like when I start to do things that are not in my zone of genius, I am my bottleneck. And I find I have like selling, I'm the only sales guy on my team. And so I finally just said, fuck, I'm going to hire a sales team. And so I worked on hiring a sales team, and I hope my sales team isn't listening. I love you guys, but it's like fucking babysitting. It's like, I don't want to do this babysitting. I don't want to do this. So you know what? I take the responsibility back because I don't feel like dealing with their whiny ass bitches. Sorry. Again, sales team, if you're listening to this, I love you, but you guys got to get out of your own way. Like I got to get out of my own way.
Yeah, I don't think you're saying anything that anybody who's owned a business anywhere from 250 to I would say 5 million doesn't feel. Yeah, I was just at a sales conference, and I also have a sales team, and it's almost word for word exactly what you're talking about.
How do you get beyond that though? Do you just say, okay, I'm just going to let them fail and fail and fail, and I'm going to show up and be loving and supportive, and hopefully you'll pick them up when they fall down, but I can't do it for them because I can't do it for them. Or why not just do it myself?
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, we kind of went back to me doing it, a lot of it. And instead, it's a supportive system around me doing the final sell. So we just changed our marketing procedures, is what we did. And we kind of went back to a system that I previously had, but it was better because now I
Right.
know how to use the sales team in conjunction with that. It's just those minute details of kind of figuring out what exactly works for you.
And I'm figuring it out. You're a couple of years ahead of me, which is, again, selfishly, I'm like, okay, this is free coaching. I'm going to get here on my show. I'm gonna get here on my show. I see you, Carina. I see you, I see you on an Oprah, an Ellen type of show, sitting in that guest seat, sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. And you're not only you have the smarts, you have the credibility to back it up, but you're super, super nice in how even in the booking of this podcast. I remember I said, "Hey, I'd love to do a guest swap," and your team was like, "Absolutely, she'd like to do it." And I'm like, I'm like, why the fuck would she want to be on my show? It's like,
And I love you, Doug, and we're going to be besties forever and ever more. Yeah, the thing is, and I love that the show is called Nice Guys Finished Last. My team, it's all about being nice because you get more with honey than vinegar, right? What's the old saying.
Yep.
And the truth is, I think there's not enough nice people in business. Why not be nice? Why not gather as many people around you to be part of your network, right? That's what you're building.
Well, I think that people, I really do feel like in general, the world feels like nice is a sign of weakness, not a sign of staying power. And the biggest challenge that I have had to overcome mentally on my own is like, no, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be that jerk that's out there. Now, I may think some of those things, but I'm not going to act that way because that is not going to benefit me in business to be a jerk to my clients, to be well, I'm sorry, we don't do it that way because that's our policy. Who the fuck says that? That kind of stuff. I'm like, whatever my customer wants, if I can deliver it and it doesn't cost me more than I'm bringing in for that customer, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. And you know what? That will benefit me in getting more customers, I would think.
It does. It absolutely does because is it Rory Vaden who says reputation precedes everything else? And it only takes 1 second to break reputation, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
at the end of the day, authentically, we have to be who we are. And if you're a nice person, that doesn't mean that you're not charismatic or vibrant or all of these things that come along with it. If anything, I'm always drawn to nice people because I want to work with nice people. I want my clients to be nice people.
I know.
I want the people that I work with be nice people, right?
Yep.
It works out nicely.
I built my entire business on 3 principles. It's be a nice guy, tell the truth, return my phone calls. That's it. It's amazing how many people just fuck those 3 things up. Be a nice guy. Just be nice. Return your phone calls and just tell the truth, even if the truth is not what
Hurts.
right. Even if the truth hurts. Exactly. You've got to be honest. Sometimes everybody's not a customer. All of those things, failing is okay. All of that shit works. But I have to tell you, if I'm not nice, I don't tell the truth, and I'm not on time, or if I'm not making myself available, I'm going to fail in business, or I'm not going to feel good about myself, which is the same as failing in business.
I think so too. Yeah. Your personal. So designers come to me all the time and they're struggling. And I'm like, now, are you really struggling with design work, or do you want to tell me? It's so funny. It's design therapy. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on in your life right now?
Yeah.
Well, this is happening with my son. This is happening with my spouse. And I'm like, listen, this is not about how like you're not failing in your design work or your creativity. You have a lot of personal stuff going on right now.
Yep.
And if you have personal stuff going on, you're not going to get past that right now into the design work.
Agreed. All right, Carina. So we're out of time, but I don't even know how I can, what can I do? Like, how can what do you need from my community, or what can my community do with you?
Okay. So here's the deal. If you know of someone who wants to be a designer and who wants to actually make money being design, and so it might not be you might be just like, I'm into podcasting. That's my thing. Great. If you know of someone who's artistic and amazing, send them over to my podcast. But I'm going to give you guys all this. And this is actually great for podcasters as well. So I have a book called Make Art That Sells. And if you go to makeartbook.com, there is a masterclass there I'm giving you for free. So just put in the code Make Art on that. Just click on the link in there. Make art. It's free. And it's like this 6 lessons. If you like art, it's really fun because I'm showing you Picasso and Van Gogh, and it's really fun. But what I really do is I give you a formula that helps you learn how to make, for me, make art that sells. For you, make podcasts that sells, make books that sell, right? You insert your product into the formula and then add all the stuff to it. You will be surprised at how cleanly you will start thinking about how you move forward in business.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes before we disconnect from our Zoom meeting. Carina, I'll get that information from you so I can drop it in the show notes. See that there's a gift that I wasn't even aware that was coming. It is so cool. Carina, thank you for sharing your inspiration, your methods, and your secrets behind the scenes. Thanks for sharing it on the Nice Guys today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Doug.
Nice Guys community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to our guest, Carina. All of her information, including all that free stuff that she's going to give you, is right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
If you're hearing my voice right now, you obviously enjoyed the podcast. So why not help the guys out? Click on the Patreon link in the show notes, and for as little as $2 a month, you can show your support. Or show us whatever you want.